They say you should fight for what you love, but what if that fight is what ends up destroying it? In the realm of Ondoria, Kael was the last guardian. He gave everything to stop the desolation and nearly doomed the very world he swore to protect. This is his story. What he found at the edge of defeat might change how you see every struggle in your own life. For generations beyond counting, the heart of the world beat strong in the verdant reach, a land alive with wonder, where trees grew so tall their crowns brushed the clouds, and rivers, clear as the purest crystal, sang through valleys untouched by blight. For as long as memory stretched, a sacred vow was passed down through the guardian's bloodline. To protect this vibrant paradise, they learned stories not of glory, but of vigilance, tales of a slow, creeping blight, a relentless shadow that threatened to swallow all life whole. The elders called it the sands, a disease older than time itself, an ancient evil that unraveled the very fabric of existence, turning living beauty into barren desolation. They spoke of the great consumption, a forgotten age when the sands nearly devoured the world, silencing every song, drying every spring, leaving only dust and silence beneath a sky forever choked with sand. This was the burden Kael inherited, a purpose etched deep into his very soul. He was the bulwark, the living shield against that terrifying oblivion, the whispering sands, not a sudden storm but a slow, creeping tide, fine, luminous grains with a dark magic seeping into the fertile edges of the verdant reach, choking roots, tainting springs, silencing the busy life on the forest floor. Kael watched with growing horror. This was the prophecy come to pass, the end his ancestors had warned of, the return of the great consumption, the death of the world itself. He was filled with desperate resolve. He would fight. He would never yield. His purpose was clear, carved into his bones. To lose meant the death of everything he loved, every green leaf, every flowing river, every whispered secret of the forest. He would not let the shadow of barrenness fall upon the verdant reach. Kael fought. He poured every drop of his inherited magic, every waking hour, into pushing back the tide. He called on the life force of the forest itself, shimmering wards pulsing with emerald light, barriers meant to stand against the creeping desolation. But the sands, like a silent predator, always found a way around. Patient, insidious. From the haze where the sands met the trees, a figure emerged, moving with unnerving grace. Silas. Still struggling, Guardian? His voice was silk over steel. Kael's breath caught, weary but defiant. Who are you? Stand back. These lands are protected. Silas smiled, eyes glinting with dark knowledge. Protected? You only delay the inevitable. The sands are too vast, too ancient, for your meager barriers. But there are other ways, harder ways, older ways. Silas was a whisper from the edges, a collector of forgotten lore, a proponent of force. He spoke of unleashing the true power, binding the will of the earth itself. He promised Kael not defense, but conquest, dominion over the sands that would banish barrenness forever. He knew Kael's deepest fear, the utter obliteration of the verdant reach, a dark void where no song or water remained. You fight a river with a stone, Silas purred, stepping closer. I offer you a dam, a final solution. Embrace the anger, Guardian. The sands will only consume you if you are weak. Strike them down. Force them back. Silas spoke to the fear growing in Kael's heart, the fear that his father's gentle magic was too weak, that he was not enough. He saw the exhaustion in Kael's eyes, pressed his advantage, relentless as the sands. He said hesitation was complicity, every moment not fighting was losing, and in his desperation, with the image of a dead, dry world burning in his mind, Kael believed him. What choice did he have when everything he loved was at stake? Fueled by Silas's promises and his own rising desperation, Kael embraced a darker path. His magic, once a flowing stream, became a raging torrent. He no longer warded, he attacked. He sought to crush the sands with overwhelming force. Bolts of pure energy ripped into shimmering dunes, creating temporary craters of oblivion. Silas told him each strike was a victory, a testament to his strength, but the sands were water against stone. The harder Kael pushed, the more they spread, finding new cracks, seeping deeper into the land's foundations. His aggressive magic did not repel them. It scarred the earth, draining its life, creating new paths for the sands to follow. The ancient trees, his silent friends, began to wither. Not just from the sands, but from the raw energy Kael poured into the ground. Leaves curled and browned, as if scorched from within. The more Kael resisted, the more the sands persisted. Relentless, unforgiving. His desperation mounted with every failed assault. Exhaustion blurred his vision. The lines between protecting the verdant and destroying himself became dangerously thin. Silas's whispers, once tempting, became a torment, a constant push deeper into futile war. Kael was winning battles but losing the war, losing himself. In one final, desperate battle, consumed by fury, Kael reached his limit. He roared, channeling every last drop of strength, conjuring a tempest of emerald energy. But the sands rose to meet it, a vast shimmering wall, absorbing his magic, crashing over him like an ocean wave. He felt the ancient oak, a landmark for generations, crack and splinter beneath the surge. His spirit screamed in protest. He collapsed, body trembling, unable to stand, clutching his chest as searing pain tore through him. Every muscle screamed, every nerve flared, broken. I can't hold them," he gasped, voice raw. "They are too many, too strong. This is the end of everything." Despair washed over him, cold, absolute. He had failed, lost everything. Near death, magic spent, Kael lay broken on the ravaged earth. Silence followed, a deafening absence. The desperate struggle ceased. He expected the sands to swallow him whole, the cold embrace of oblivion. But something unexpected happened. With no strength left to fight, he was forced to truly see, to listen. The whispers were not threats, but the song of the sands themselves, a low, ancient hum, a rhythm of the earth as old as creation. He saw how his barriers only diverted their flow, how his forceful magic created dead zones that invited the sands further. They were not trying to destroy the verdant. They were part of a deeper cycle, a cleansing, a shifting, a breath of the land itself. A wave of profound understanding washed over him. He weakly reached out, not to fight, but to touch the sands. They responded. The fine grains parted around his hand, flowing like water, revealing hidden springs beneath. Channels of pure living water obscured by his desperate fight. Silas, the source of destructive counsel, reeled back into the haze, his dark power over Kael broken, now that Kael stopped resisting. Kael realized the terrible truth. The whispering sands were not invaders, but ancient, elemental forces of transformation. His resistance, fueled by fear and amplified by Silas, had disrupted their natural flow, turning a cleansing process into destruction. It was his resistance that had turned them into a monster. In that moment of complete surrender, he let go. Let go of the need to fight, to control. He simply accepted their presence. He understood his ancestors were not just guardians. They were balancers. They did not fight the sands. They guided them, allowed them to flow where they needed, creating new landscapes, uncovering hidden resources, allowing new life to flourish. His desperate battle had only made the sands wild, still weak, but serene. Kael used his last magic, not to push, but to guide, opening channels, building natural barriers that worked with the flow. The sands responded, creating shifting dunes, revealing a hidden oasis, carving fertile pathways in rock, transforming the land, a harmony of desert and life. The verdant reach would change, yes, but it would not die. It would transform. The whisper of impossible silenced, not by victory, but by acceptance. We all have our own whispering sands. Maybe it's chronic pain you fight without rest, refusing to acknowledge its hold. Or a toxic relationship you desperately try to change, even when change is impossible. Perhaps a life setback, a lost job, a failure that you resist accepting, believing it defines you forever. Or an insecurity you try to conquer by overworking, by controlling everything. You know the feeling. The more you push back, the more the sands consume your peace, your energy, your soul. Remember Kael. His journey was never about sudden power. It was about letting go, silencing the voice that demanded endless war, choosing instead to truly see, to accept. The greatest devastation lies not in the struggle, but in the belief that we must fight it. What whispering sands are you ready to stop resisting, to let go, to allow transformation and freedom to finally begin? Your journey to true peace starts when you stop fighting and start seeing.